It never happened to me until it did. Seasickness. Is there anything worse? I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley Podcast, I share some tips for coping with seasickness and what worked for me. Today's episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Saving to Sail. Whether you want to start a blog or online business, get paid to write, or get a remote job, Saving to Sail gives you the knowledge, tools, and inspiration to make money while cruising. Visit savingtosail.com/boatgalley for exclusive bonuses and use code BG20, BG20 for 20% off all Saving to Sail e-courses. Saving to Sail, helping you work online so you can leave the dock sooner and sail the world longer. Seasickness. Since beginning the Boat Galley in 2010, I periodically would get questions about dealing with seasickness, and while I've passed on things I heard from other cruisers, I'd always preface them with, I don't have a lot of personal experience with seasickness. Well, that all changed on a 2014 trip to the U.S. and Spanish Virgin Islands on a friend's boat. I was seasick every time we were underway until I learned avoidance strategies that worked for me. Frankly, I was surprised. I felt a little queasy maybe half a dozen times in the past, and truly seasick twice, both in unusual circumstances. I didn't even think to pack seasickness medications on that trip. I won't dissect all the possible causes for my increased problems, but apparently it is not uncommon for women approaching menopause to have more problems with seasickness due to hormonal changes. Sort of like pregnancy's hormonal changes can trigger morning sickness. Well, I'm certainly not a seasickness expert at this point, but 10 days of dealing with it, and then a few occasions since then. I even had problems on the big car ferry on St. John. Well, that's taught me a lot. The funny thing is that I still enjoyed the sailing, but it was a lot better after the third day when I figured out the magic formula to keep me from getting seasick. For me, the magic formula was starting medications 12 hours before we set out, staying outside, letting others consult the charts and guides when underway, and taking the wheel for substantial amounts of time. Now, this isn't a comprehensive article on the topic, and I'm not a medical professional, but here are a few things to think about and a little bit of how I've coped. Even if you've never experienced seasickness before, it's possible, and you need to be prepared. If you're going on a charter or on a friend's boat, take seasickness medications with you. Don't count on others having them for you. I'm lucky that LaDonna had some and was willing to share. I'm not a medical professional and I'm not going to recommend any particular meds. Talk to your doctor about what is most appropriate for you. Some can cause psychiatric problems, some cause extreme sleepiness, and only a few are appropriate for pregnant women and so on. Keep the seasickness medications where you can get at them easily. If you are starting to feel queasy, you do not want to have to dig in lockers. If you know you tend to have problems, start taking meds about 12 hours before you plan to get underway so that they are in your system. Taking them immediately before getting underway or after symptoms appear is often ineffective as you puke them up before they have a chance to get into your bloodstream. On longer passages, many people report that seasickness goes away after 2 days underway. Dehydration can be both a cause and an effect of seasickness. Being a little dehydrated can lead to seasickness, and puking from seasickness can lead to dehydration. Even if you're puking, it's important to keep drinking plain water or ginger ale. Your body will absorb at least some. Seasickness also affects your thinking. Be aware of this when doing anything. I didn't appreciate how stupid seasickness could make me, and was shocked at the silly mistakes I made. It's a good thing I wasn't responsible for the navigation. Problems in thinking can just multiply, and this is one reason why it's important to prevent seasickness in the first place. Now let's talk about a few home remedies. For most people, getting into a calm anchorage or marina is sufficient to stop the seasickness. That was definitely true for me. By the time the anchor was down, I felt fine, and I'd be starving. Conventional wisdom is that some people find ginger helps, while others prefer mint. Ginger snaps and ginger ale did nothing for me, and mint didn't sound remotely appealing. I frankly have never met anyone that's actually been helped by either one. Recently, an article in Spin Sheet said that many people get relief by using an earplug in their non-dominant ear. In other words, the ear that is on their non-dominant hand side. So if I'm right-handed, I would put the earplug in my left ear. We didn't have any real earplugs, so I couldn't really try it. The makeshift ones I did try didn't help. If you're seasick, don't go inside or down below. Most people find that they do much better when outside. Therefore, having meds and drinks in an easy-to-grab location is critical, as is having food pre-made on longer passages. Going below to use the head can be a real problem. A pee bottle in the cockpit will help you. And on passages, many people, me included, can sleep in the cockpit for the first couple of days if conditions permit. Always, of course, wear a harness and clip yourself in. Don't read or stare at a radar screen if you don't have to. Even looking at a little chartlet of the anchorage we were approaching was tough for me. If there are others on board who aren't seasick, have them do these chores. Now, pets can have seasickness too, although it seems to be rare. Our dog Paz was seasick on her first passage and never again. Ask your vet for advice and what meds are best if needed. Be prepared. Just as with humans, the fact that they haven't had a problem in the past doesn't mean that they won't have one now. Now, the absolute best cure for me, outside of meds, was to take the wheel, and I've heard many other people report the same thing. The seasickness went totally away if I was steering. While this might not work on offshore passages, who can steer for 2 days straight until the seasickness goes away? It can be very effective for day passages. Now, a few practical tips in the galley. Never assume that there won't be any seasickness. Yeah, I violated this rule. Anyways, it's easy to be complacent and not be prepared in case it does strike. Before embarking on a trip, fill a cooler with drinks to keep in the cockpit so that everyone can stay hydrated without having to go inside. Alcohol usually makes seasickness worse. Now, we never drink adult beverages underway in any case. Some people are bothered by caffeine. Many people report that pasta and rice are foods that are least likely to trigger a fresh bout of seasickness. Others say not to eat anything spicy. As you're coming out of a bout of seasickness on a longer passage, my feeling is that the best foods to eat are those that sound good to you. On longer passages, Gatorade or a rehydration drink is good to have easily available in case anyone is sick enough to become dehydrated. On shorter trips, you'll usually be in a calm anchorage or marina before anyone is seriously dehydrated. Now, if you'll be needing meals underway, prepare them in advance. Cold rice and pasta salads are good since they don't even have to be heated up. Energy bars are also easy to grab. Heat soups in advance and keep them in a thermos. Don't try to wash dishes underway unless you're on a multi-day passage. And even then, you might want to wait until the first couple of days and the accompanying seasickness have passed. If ginger or mint do help someone on your boat, keep a stock in a convenient place. And finally, if you are seasick and taking other medications, such as birth control, cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes, antibiotics, or anything else, you may be puking up your meds and creating other problems. I don't have answers for you, but be aware of potential problems and discuss this with your doctor. Yes, we know more than one cruiser who became pregnant unintentionally because of puking up birth control pills. Now, lots of well-known cruisers have suffered from seasickness. Lynn Party's one of them, and she's done a double circumnavigation. Preparation is key. You really can deal with it. Thanks for listening to the Boat Galley Podcast. I enjoyed having you along. And don't forget to tell your friends about it and subscribe so that you never miss a podcast.